Most of us have been at this for more than 20 years, and we're tired. Tired of hearing people think that they have no hope, no future, and that they will simply sit in their cubicles and survive working in IT. Well, we're here to tell you right here, right now, that you can thrive in IT, and we are going to prove it.
Bringing you great stories
About great people in information technology
that it turns out are just like you. Welcome to THRIVEcast.
All right. Welcome to another edition of THRIVEcast. My name is DJ Eshelman, and if you are a IT professional or just have one you really care about and want to learn all about how to make their lives better, you are in the right place. Ladies and gentlemen, THRIVEcast is the place for IT professionals to learn how to truly thrive instead of just survive what they're doing in information technology. Great show for you this week. Thank you for all of you that are joining us live. If you are joining us live here, feel free to chat us with any questions you have or any comments, or just to heckle our guests, because you know what, we encourage that here. But speaking of heckling, let me bring in my co-host Jeff Pitch. Oh, I gotta uncheck the maximize. I gotta demaximize myself.
Bringing them in without actually bringing them in. Oh yeah.
That's right.
See, you're heckling me. I like that.
Yeah,
that's
right.
good. It's a good way to start out the show tonight.
I think I like these evening broadcasts. It's like I can darken the room a bit more than I usually can, and just have the. Dude,
You're not going to start getting all like Barry White music going on in the background and.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there it is. Nice.
We could do that, but yeah, I've actually got some new lights in the studio. I'll have to actually one of these days I need to get around to just giving people a tour of the studio. It probably means I need to actually clean things up around here a little bit, but
yeah,
one of these days I need to actually.
I'm in that same boat.
Yeah, I did a little bit of cleaning the other day, but it's just not enough. Yeah, there's something about New Year and cleaning up, and I failed miserably. Actually put my second record player, actually put it up here on the desk, and now I have stuff on top of it. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I've got my treadmill because I've got my standing desk and I can put the treadmill under it. And then right now I've got a blanket for when the dogs are in here, and they can lay down and be comfortable. And it's just, it's.
I think you were gonna go take a nap under the desk or something, but you know.
You found me out. That's what I tell my wife, is that it's for the dogs. But
well, I mean, yeah, I guess I could give a little bit of a. There is you can see it behind me. There's a little futon behind me. So there are occasions when I do actually take a nap here in the office. Just full disclosure, you know. Get that back. Anyway,
so I gotta ask. I gotta ask, and I've been meaning to ask.
Okay. Behind
your left shoulder, you have the guitars and the books. Is that a somebody holding a lightsaber, or is that a microphone stand being held up?
Let's bring him on. So you can see Captain America back there, right? That's kind of obvious with the shield and all that, hopefully.
Yeah.
So this is actually pretty obscure. This is actually what is the character in it's Cliff Barton in
Ronan.
Ronan,
yeah. Yes.
So this is a Ronan doll that somebody gave me. So I was like, what am I gonna do with this? And I'll just put it back there. Just
got it.
Stand guard, and you know. So yeah. Oh, Jeff, I think I lost your audio. Click and mute on me again. Well, while you're figuring that out, I'm going to bring Mike on. Looks like we're having an issue with the stream from Jeff saying that I'm not sure. I have to have you come back yeah, I'll have you come back in. Let's bring on Mike Nelson. Mike, how you
Hey,
doing?
good, good. How are you guys? Well, I'm doing better than Jeff, obviously.
Yeah.
You
We'll
know,
have to have
but
him reboot or something like that. He's
yeah, I'm
not
doing
doing
great,
that.
man. I got to make a comment though about your little chit chat you were having just a minute ago. You called it a record player.
Mhm.
Then I gotta ask, do you collect vinyl?
Yeah, actually, that's the other thing you can kind of see.
Okay,
No, you can't see. Never mind. But
because
yeah,
I
there's
thought
a
I thought you'd use the proper term of turntable, but that's okay. Use
you
record
got to
player.
learn to speak the language of the people. Besides, this one that's up here in the office is
Yeah.
not really like a high-end
Okay.
turntable. So I do
Okay.
consider it a record player. There's
Okay.
buttons that you push to actually make the thing that
Oh,
turn the
just
needle
like
go on the record,
the
basically.
old
So
console ones, the big ones like my mom used to have, where you'd open up the wood top and
yeah, not like that, but
yeah,
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 pretty much the same
yeah,
concept.
yeah. So yeah, I collect vinyl as well. So it's
Nice,
it's kind of cool.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of these days we'll have to uh, swap stories about that on the show here. But yeah, most of my collection is downstairs with the Fluence turntable. Yes,
There you go.
with the Ortofon Blue cartridge and all the works there. It's a very nice setup. But
True
up here in the office,
audiophile.
it's much more casual.
True audiophile. And Jeff is still having problems.
So yeah, we'll continue on. So anyway, Jeff's audio issues aside, we'll let him just reconnect and hopefully we'll get that taken care of. Um, we use a web-based system here that apparently there's an update to Chromium that has been causing some issues. So we've been kind of scrambling through this whole episode. But regardless, wanted to introduce you all to Mike Nelson. He's been at this for about as long as we all have anyway. It's like that 3 decade span of just kind of dabbling in a bunch of different things and doing things in, like, call it corporate management, I guess is the best way to describe that. Architecture, building, engineering, consulting, all these kind of things. He has been a Citrix CTP in the past, is currently serving as a Citrix Technology Advocate or CTA. MVP for 6 years now, right?
Yep. 6
Okay.
years.
Yep. He's one of the Azure advisors. Actually, Azure is one of the things I know Mike for the best at this point, actually, is some webinars and things we've done in the past teaching things like that. And then also, the vExpert and things like that for the last almost decade or so, I think, right? So,
Yeah. A
yeah.
long time.
So welcome, Mike. It's good to
Thank
have
you.
you on. And
Thank you.
going to yeah, let's try. I'm gonna try and bring Jeff back in. Let's see what happens.
All right.
How about now?
No, sorry, Jeff.
I think you did something, but yeah.
As a matter of fact, Jeff and I, just to share a little story while you're working with them, Jeff and I go so far back that I used to put questions out on the Citrix forums. I don't know if you guys remember way back when the Citrix forums were a thing that people actually used to try and find answers because they couldn't find it anywhere else. And I would write those, and Jeff would be one of the first to respond. And him and I would sometimes get in little back and forth with each other. I really didn't know him, but and then we ran into each other. Kind of bumped into each other at a conference, and it was like, "Oh, so you're the guy? Oh yeah, you're the guy."
Yeah, that's always fun to have those little one-on-one experiences or things like that. Sometimes it can kind of be a little intimidating at times.
Oh,
Like,
very much so.
actually, I was just thinking back today that a year ago today, iGel Disrupt was here in Nashville, and got to meet a lot of people, a lot of times for the first time. That some of which were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm meeting you." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're meeting me either."
Yeah, I used to give Brian back in. I worked with Brian way back in the early days. Brian Madden, who
Right.
you've had on your show as well, and I used to give him grief all the time about being the groupie. We were just a bunch of groupies that would follow Brian around. So it's really weird. It's really strange, but
Yeah. Yeah. It's an odd thing. Like, there's a lot of perceived celebrity where we don't
no.
think of it that way. We just think of ourselves as peers with varying levels of noise that we make.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like, a lot of the people that I've met are very level-headed, very, very humble. I have met some folks that aren't so humble. I mean, you probably have met those people too.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
No, I was talking about Jeff. He's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, he's not here to defend himself. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shh. And the thing about it is that I just kind of take those in stride. I just like, hey, you are who you are, and I know you're really smart about this technology or this, whatever. But that doesn't mean I don't try and interact with them somehow, because, they are smart and it's good to share knowledge. They may not have the best personality, but you just try and get along. And I've met a lot of great people down the road, though. I got to tell you, just fantastic friendships that I'll never forget. I mean, they're last the rest of my life, and memories of incredible memories, fun, bad, everything in between.
Yeah, exactly.
Is he back now? Jeff. You can call in on a phone. Do you have like one of the rotary phones? You can just dial with the rotary.
How about that?
Hey,
all right. All right. Well,
oh, he was muted the whole time.
Yeah, no, NVIDIA broadcast or something was messing with it.
Couldn't find the mute button. That's what it was.
I switched it over directly to the mic, so it's not doing the noise cancellation, and boom, I'm back.
That sounds like an ID10T error.
Well, the problem is between the chair and the keyboard. So
between the ears, man.
Blame it on your hands. I get it. Well, Mike, let's get into this a little bit as far as your background. Tell us a little bit about like where you grew up and how you got. What was this journey that brought you into IT?
Sure. This is the boring part for everybody. This is about me. So, I actually was born in the area I live in now, right in the Midwest in Wisconsin. And people who don't know it from California and from the East Coast don't know where Wisconsin is. We're right up towards Canada and Michigan, and anyways, everybody knows us now because of the election, right? Wisconsin. Yeah, no. So I was born here. I was actually born I was born here in the Valley. They call it Appleton. I was actually raised up in Green Bay, where Green Bay Packers. Truth be told, one of the jobs that I've held is I've actually worked at Lambeau Field. I was a beer hawker. Beer here. Yeah, I sold beer.
Nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, I grew up there. Went to high school there. Graduated high school. Went on to. I worked a whole bunch of different jobs. I actually only worked one job in my entire career that lasted a total of 48 hours. And that was when I was just getting out of high school. I worked for, and everybody knows this store, The Gap. Well, back in the 80s, yes, I'm that old. Back in the 80s, The Gap was like the place to go. It was like, it was it. Have you ever watched the show The Goldbergs? That's exactly what The Gap was all about. Anyways, that lasted for about 48 hours because I actually had a manager. This is a funny story. I actually went in, and the first day is all paperwork and training. And the second day I went in, and I had a manager that was shadowing me, and she was just like all over me about everything. And she took out a ruler, and I did not know this, but they have special rulers that the company made or had made, and they would actually measure the distance between folded items. and you would have to fold them and put this ruler up, and the ruler, you couldn't be more than like a quarter to a half inch off of this ruler. And I'm sitting there, and she's like, well, this one's not right, and you got to move this one, and you got to fold it this way, and you got to move this, and this one's, you got to move it over an inch, and you got to do that. I'm like, forget it. I'm done.
It wasn't just a store; it was an experience.
I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind, and I was like, I just did not have the attention span when I got out of high school for that much detail. I just didn't. So I actually went to school, and you know what I went to school for? You're not going to believe this. You know what I actually went to school for? To be a cop.
County.
No, to be a cop. I actually went to school in police science, and I went to be a police officer. But I ended up actually going through the EMT for the emergency medical technician. Did that, got my EMT certification. I served on a rescue squad for about 2 years. So, Jeff, if I see you sometime and you start to have a heart attack, I can get you out of it, man. I can still do that.
Oh man, I'm going to whatever conference you are at every time.
Keep eyes on Mike at all times.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, during school, I worked a whole bunch of different jobs. You know how that is. I worked at a convenience store, and I was actually a chef carver at a Sunday buffet restaurant. I used to carve the ham and carve the turkey, put it on your plate, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I got a job actually working at a company that did tax forms. And these were paper tax forms. The IRS would distribute them, but they wouldn't distribute them to tax preparers. So I worked for a company that created these tax forms. And when I got there, I did a lot of things with the tax forms and just helping out. But eventually I became a press operator. So I was a press operator for about 4 or 5 years. I used to run big multicolor presses. And one day, one of the guys came up to me and said, hey, do you know anything about computers? And I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. This is back when they had the IBM PS2s. I don't know if you're familiar with those. They were the long white boxes. They weighed like 50 pounds, and had 20 gig hard drives in them. Anyways.
20 gig?
You had a 20 gig hard drive?
20 meg, yeah.
Say, where'd you get gig back then?
Yeah. 512K of memory, stuff like that. But anyways, he was like, hey, I need some help with these computers. I'm like, okay. So I dilly-dally around. I had an Atari XL at home. That was my first computer. Helped out a little bit. He said, we got this network, a Novell network. Didn't know anything about Novell. Didn't even know how to spell Novell. And got involved in that. ArcNet. Okay, so my first experience, ArcNet. And it just kind of ballooned from there. I mean, I never really left technology after that point. And I worked for that company for a while. Then the company that actually supported them hired me away, which was a consulting firm. And I got hired away. And from there, man, it was, I just did a retrospective. It's 36 years that I've been in this area, in this technology area. And it's everything from, like you were mentioning, I started out on the lowest tier. I was actually doing break fix on Okadata and Epson printers and replacing flywheels and all that kind of fun stuff. And went from there and just kind of tried to get through the ranks, man. Became a systems administrator, went from there all the way up to engineering. And I was an engineer for at least 10 years, 10 years plus for, I worked for a hospital system up in Green Bay. And then went from there and got my breakthrough job, which was at a Fortune 200 company here in the Valley called I don't want to use their name, but they're the company that makes the Kleenex tissues and the Huggies diapers and stuff like that. So I got a job working in virtualization, and that was just because Citrix they wanted to implement Citrix, so it was a massive Citrix deployment. And I was working with just literally a bunch of idiots that were consulting for Citrix, and I just blew them away. I said, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I got this.
Nice.
Well, yeah, and 2 years later, that Fortune company hired me as a full-time employee. And, it's just kind of gone from there. I mean, realistically, guys, I love working in all different areas. I mean, my hands have touched so many different things.
Yeah.
And it's really been a pleasure to do that. I went from, working on, I worked for NBC for a while, a local NBC affiliate, but I got to learn all about how satellites work and how they you do the news data and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All that kind of cool stuff. I got to use RFID. I got to, work with RFID and put it on products, that every time you buy a roll of toilet paper or a package of toilet paper, there's an RFID chip on them. I didn't know if everybody knew that, but there is an RFID chip in them. So it's just kind of cool stuff like that. And
do I want to know what they're tracking with that RFID? I'm kind of afraid.
Well,
you know how valuable toilet paper is. Right?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was working on it, they actually wanted to know not only where it went to the warehouse, but where it went to the store, where it was placed in the store, and then where the actual consumer took it. So they could place their product at more convenient locations for those consumers if there was that much. I mean, think about all the telemetry data that's collected. I mean, they can do anything, with all that data. So that's interesting stuff. And some of I can tell you the best job I ever had, the best boss I ever had. I can't tell you the best job because I really haven't had the best job yet. I think my best job is going to be retirement, but I worked for a company that is no longer around called Nginx. And Nginx was one of the first ones to come out with the app virtualization and things like that. But Rick Dillinger hired me to go work there. And he by far, I mean, him and one other person, I mean, is probably the best boss I've ever had. Just because Rick was, I mean, if you know Rick, he's a real character. He's great to get along with. And we had a blast. We had a lot of fun doing what we were doing for a couple of years. And
that was Rick's company, right?
Well, actually, they bought Rick's company.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So he was.
Okay.
Yeah, he was Claros Consulting, and they bought them. Joe Harder was working for Rick at the time, and Henrik Johansson. I don't know if you remember Henrik, but they were all working for Rick at the time, and then they got bought, and Nginx bought them.
Yeah, because I remember I was doing some stuff with Rick as a contractor.
The Claros?
Yeah, with Vision App, the Vision App product.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the one that was basically an automated framework for putting together your Citrix servers and all the apps and everything. That was brilliant at the time.
It was. Yeah. He jumped all on board with that, and then after that, obviously Atlantis came along, and that's one of the things, is he actually said, if I ever go anywhere, because Nginx actually got sectioned off. Right now, it's Cloud Jumper, or now they've gotten bought by NetApp, so they're no longer Cloud Jumper. Yeah. But we all went our separate ways, and he called me up one night and he said, "Hey, I got this thing I'm doing with Atlantis Computing. And, I'd like you to come work for me." And I'm like, I'm there, so yeah, that was a lot of fun, but,
well, I want to back up a little bit. Just to kind of deconstruct something. So
I talked a lot, so
yeah, lots of different, pathways here.
And
one of the things I love kind of figuring out with people is something they don't always figure out themselves, but looking back on all the kind of the progression of where you kind of figured out you fit in, what do you think it was like? What things stand out as far as like directing you towards that path? We're all kind of accidental when you think about it.
Yeah. So first, getting the opportunity to actually be in technology, I give credit to my first boss who gave me, the opportunity to, hey, you want to try out this Novell network thing? Give it a shot. Go for it. That to me was like breaking the ice, right? Which really got me hooked into it. And then as I progressed, it was really people who gave me an opportunity. They were like, I see, the opportunity that you could bring, and the knowledge that you could bring. And I've had people tell me that they appreciated my knowledge and what I brought to the table. But also, one of the things that was enticing to me was I had a manager at one time who told me that I would never be anything more than an engineer, and that there was no reason that I would need to go anywhere else and work anywhere else, because that's all you'll ever be as an engineer. You're not smart enough to be into management. You're not, tactful enough. You couldn't be in architecture because you don't get the whole vision of everything. And that just drove me harder. I was like, no way, man, this is not the stopping point for me. And it wasn't. I was like, I shortly left that position and went right from there into a senior engineering position, which led me into architecture. And one of my former managers at an insurance company, his name is Brian Lindau. He was like the inspiration for me, because he said, after he came in, and he was like, this work that you've done over the last 6 months since I've been here, because he started after me, he said, the work that you've done in the last 6 months that I've reviewed is phenomenal. I can't believe, this is excellent. This is excellent. And right there, I was like, I think I made it. I think I've proven. And if I didn't prove it I proved it to someone who I had a lot of respect for, that's been in the business for a very long time. And it comes back with, the awards that I was starting to get, the community awards, but also awards for my knowledge. And I was like, I think I've beaten the thing that has hung with me for so long, is that person telling me I couldn't do it.
It's always good motivation.
Yeah.
And Thomas, I completely disagree with that statement.
Thomas says Citrix should have bought Atlantis back in the days, and
it would have been a bad buy. It would have been a bad.
Maybe
it would have been very bad, because let's be honest, the Ilio stuff and those, because Liquidware had that was a stopgap before HCI really took off.
Well, they wanted HCI.
What was the one they did buy, though? What was the one that was like the PVS?
Oh, that was the file system, Melio FS. That is one they should have kept.
Yeah,
would have been better than Sambolic. Yeah, it would have been better than Sambolic.
that's kind of my take as well. It's like the truly software defined instead of the whatever that actually ended up being. I was like, that was kind of like just a weird.
This is awesome, by the way, guys. I'm taking a trip down memory lane with the folks that are on here, Thomas and Jarian. I mean, these are all my old homies that I used to hang with, man.
That's what we do here. We bring people together. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Jarian believes that statement so much he put it up twice.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, but shows up twice. I was like, oh. I said Jerry, and I just like clicked on it. I was like, it's all good. Whatever he wants to say, it's good.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And he says, good seeing you too, by the way.
Yeah.
So, and this is something that I actually, as an aside, this is something I'm really glad we're able to do this too, is to kind of reconnect like this and that sort of thing. But and that's actually kind of leading me towards the next thing I wanted to kind of talk about here. I wanted to kind of go through some of the community involvement you've had and just kind of, I don't know why this keeps showing up. It's like repeating things to me on the screen here. So I apologize. Scroll through, like it's going to just keep repeating things from Jerry, and I don't know why. So I guess Jerry, and the system loves you today. I'm just going to put it that way.
Yeah.
It wants me to put up things you're saying over and over again. But talk to me a little bit about how you got involved with all these different communities. Guys, the VMware, you've got Microsoft, you got Citrix. What kind of was the impetus to get you involved? I mean, other than heckling Jeff, what was it that you?
Yeah, so it's interesting because 10 years ago, I actually got involved I was doing a lot of VMware work at the time. I was doing Citrix work, but it was Citrix running on VMware. And I was actually writing articles about, running XenApp on VMware, because at the time it was like a big deal about how you should do disks and how you should, the settings you should have for an ESX host and all that other kind of stuff. This is back in ESX, 3.5 days, 3.5.1 days, stuff like that. And I actually hooked on to Zen Server as well. So I was like writing articles about how to work with Zen Server because that was the up and coming thing that everybody wanted to get involved in. But it was interesting because I became a co-leader of a group, a VMware user group. And at that point is when I started, 10 years ago, I got the vExpert award. So that was my first one. I was like, oh, this is awesome, man. I got this award and it's pretty cool. And you know, it really made an impact at the time because there was so few of us. Now it's kind of like ballooned into this big thing where, you know, I really appreciate it. I really do. It's an honor to be in the group, but I don't really, it's not as close knit, right? It's not a one-to-one type of thing. And shortly after that, I got a call from when I was working for Rick, I got a call from Henrik saying, so are you going to be around tomorrow? And I was like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to be around tomorrow. I'm working. And he came back and he goes, just make sure that you're around in the morning tomorrow. And I'm like, why? What's going on? Is everybody getting fired? Is it, you know, are they selling the company? What? And sure enough, comes back in the morning and I get sent an email saying, welcome to the CTP program, which I applied for, you know, twice and didn't get it when Laura was running it. And after Laura ran it, Perrine came on board. But I on a whim, I was like, yeah, I'll give it another shot. Sure enough, a year later, they say, welcome to the CTP program. So that was really great because for those that don't know, the CTP program at the time was just 50 people. It was actually less than that. At the time I joined, it was 46 or 47 people. And these are people from all over the world. Literally all over the world. And they were some of the coolest people you ever meet and some of the nicest and some of the most smartest people you'll ever meet. So, getting hooked up with that and being with that, and it just kind of evolved from there because I was really getting active in the community at the time because it was more about community than it was just trying to go out and write blogs and to, get the social hits and things like that. At the time, there really wasn't social, it was just writing, blogs on a website. But it was, it really made an impact when you could get involved with the users. You can get down and dirty and, help them out and be a part of the community. And then I obviously got nominated, one of my coworkers and fellow CTP, he's a CTP now, but one of my coworkers at the time, Rory Monaghan, I know you know Rory, he actually nominated me without telling me. So at a time when you could nominate people and, you could give, you could fill out all the information about that person and they wouldn't even know about it. That's exactly what happened. Because Rory called me one day and he said, hey, how'd you like to be an MVP? And I said, yeah, that'd be cool. What do I got to do? And he said, nothing. I did it for you. Congratulations. I'm like, holy crap. So yeah, but they've changed the rules and everything since then. So it really is, believe it or not, people, being on the Microsoft side, being an MVP is not easy. It's a lot of work in terms of contributions. You get examined quite a bit and you get critiqued quite a bit as well. And so it's a little bit harder, I feel, to maintain that. In CTP, I was CTP for 5 years. At that 5 years, I was no longer doing a lot of Citrix work. And I thought to myself, you know what? I got the plaque for 5 years. I think Thomas and I got the same plaque at the same year. And I said, you know what? Maybe it's my time. Maybe it's my time. I'll move on. I talked to Perrine. It was time for me. And I just said, let somebody else have the spot. And because it was still a limited program. And then she said, that's great. We'll make you a CTA. And since then I've been on committees on the CTA side and on the CUGC and doing stuff for them, but it's all community, man. I am 150% vested with a passion in community and sharing knowledge and things like that.
Yeah. Awesome
Absolutely.
stuff, man. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about mentoring too, because that's something we wanted to kind of touch on. Is like, there's this notion that well, got to say this too, is like once a CTP, always a CTP kind of thing. It's like, yeah.
Once an original CTP, always an original CTP. Sorry, had to throw that in.
You done?
Yeah, buddy.
No, it's true. I mean, it's like one of those things where it's just like you always are contributing, always doing mentoring and things like that. But there's this notion that you need to know everything to be a mentor, and so I wanted to kind of touch base on that too, because that's something that you kind of brought up, and I thought was really important to have people hear your perspective on kind of what makes a good mentor and that sort of thing.
I would disagree with, having to know everything, because nobody knows everything. And I have a problem in my professional life. I have a problem with someone being called an expert. So a lot of times when we're doing things, all of us, that are in the community, that are CTPs, or MVPs, or vExperts, or Cisco champions, or whatever, when you're doing things, they call you an expert in something. And I don't subscribe to that. Because if you're an expert in something, you peaked, you're done. And I'm never done. So I don't want to be called an expert. I know that, it's kind of a cliche, but it's just something that I firmly believe in. And anybody who goes around and calling themselves an expert in something, I'm sorry, I have a problem with that. I won't tell you to your face I have a problem with that, but I got a problem with that. The thing about it is that, and I don't know if you knew this, but mentoring to me takes on such a wide breadth of things. And the reason is because mentors really need to open themselves up to all types of mentees. They need to understand, get to understand where the mentee's coming from, what they want to accomplish, and how you can help them. Sometimes you can't help them. And you need to admit that. You need to say, hey, I'm maybe not the right mentor for you. And I've done that. I've had a person call me up and say, I'd like you to mentor me. And I'm like, okay, so what are your goals? What do you want to get out of this for me? Because I've got some things I want to get out of it as well. And they're like, well, I'd like to do this, and this. And I'm like, I mean, I can try and coach you a little bit, but I'm really probably not the best fit for this. I know someone who could help you out, but I'm probably not the best fit. And people who admit that right away, you really stop a lot of confusion and from the mentee who's just like, this person's really not helping me out at all. It was a waste of time and everything else. But as I was saying, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there were 3 of us that were actually inducted 2 years ago into the Women in Technology Mentor Program.
Yeah.
So we were the first male mentors ever brought into WIT, and that was Neil Spellings, myself, and Jim Moyle. So and that was quite a trip actually, because we went to a meeting, a WIT meeting, and we were introduced, and literally, a whole sea full of females, and there's 3 guys, and they're like, these are our, initial male mentors that are going to like break the glass ceiling. And I was like, wow, it's a little bit of a trip, but at the same time, it's been a great experience. I mean, it's been an experience where, learning both sides of the coin of understanding some of the things that happen, not only from a professional standpoint, but also a personal standpoint, a male and female in the industry and things like that. And I think, having that understanding gives you more of an even keel and understanding how, because I'll tell you right now, I don't think things are fair. And especially mentoring some, I really don't think they're fair, but we've got to keep striving towards that,
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, in the tech industry, it's been hard to break through a lot of these things for sure. And it's just,
So what do you guys think of that? I mean, what do you guys think about, having the opportunity, if you could, to actually mentor someone outside of, just the typical stereotype?
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew my hair out, but nobody's asked yet. So
No, and I think it's good. I mean, obviously, women mentoring women is great, but there's also the other side of it. If you can get the right people in, and from a male perspective, that's also a great perspective to have. Both sides of the coin. For me, when I started my career, got my first real job at a hospital here in Grand Rapids. Two of the employees were, literally two of the smartest people I've known. One was an older woman that had been there for a long time, but she knew her stuff. And the other one was one we had promoted up from the desktop support team. And she was just as good. She would, be able to pick up on stuff. And I'll say it, she got better than me. And, so I feel like I've grown up in this field with being lucky enough to be around intelligent women, and not a bunch, but also not a bunch of a-hole guys on the side doing the male thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that has not happened, but it's never good. And in today, Esther and Jen and everyone else, so incredibly intelligent and smart and know what they're doing. And to see anyone, especially a male, push aside their opinion simply because they're female. It's like, really? What year is this? Are we still doing this?
Yeah. Well, actually, the funny thing about this for me was, I grew up and my mother's been the breadwinner in our home for forever. That's just always been a thing. There's just various issues I won't go into, but for me, that was what was modeled. Going out through college and early in my career and like that, it wasn't until, truth be told, it wasn't until I got on the road as a consultant that I started to see, I had to be shown that there was any kind of issue at all. And it was so foreign to me. It's just like, there's getting upset, but it wasn't even, I can't even classify it as that. It was just like, it's like these people were speaking a foreign language and I didn't. Right. So I have to admit that for a while there, I would just kind of just stood by and said, what in the world is going on here? This is just very strange. I don't understand this. Why would you even think that her opinion doesn't matter? Especially when, it's somebody that's like above me, that sort of thing. And somebody that I respect greatly. It's like, what in the world makes somebody like, immediately think that her opinion isn't important or whatever. And, it's just,
I actually came up in a bubble, I came up in a bubble that, got to a point where, when I started to work for that Fortune company, that manufacturer, I actually met one of the cybersecurity folks, one of the security folks, and she was a female, and I sat down with her to talk about the Citrix implementation, and obviously, a whole bunch of security around that. They're a global company having to deal with all kinds of different, security issues. It just blew me away how incredibly smart she was, how incredibly, how she conveyed ideas and solutions and things like that. That's when I actually got out of the bubble. I was like, we gotta, there's no reason that you can't just be a part of this, and you can't, you don't have to be in this whole, thing where male dominated and everything else. That's just not legit anymore. Yeah. And that was back in 2006. And I was like, this has got to change. This has got to change. And I work with so many folks, that just started to grasp that idea. But I have worked, again, like what you said, I've been in a room where there's been, a bunch of guys talking, and you want to go back to what do they call it? Locker room talk, whatever. The thing about it is that it's it's not necessary. It's not something that should happen in professional and in IT. And I took a stand against it. I just said enough is enough for me. So.
Right. And actually, the other problem I had with this a lot of the times was when I had somebody that was working with me in a sales capacity, you know, and what really made me upset about that was that they felt they had to, you know, make themselves like overly pretty to the point where like I've worked with some women that have had like issues with this, like actual identity issues, because of the perception that they need to be seen as, you know, attractive, not intelligent. And that to me bothered me a lot. I think I don't want to just, you know, flip the coin and say, you know, I want to hold somebody up because of their gender or whatever.
Right.
I want to hold up contribution as contribution, period. And,
Exactly.
you know, equal, not just an opportunity, but encouragement as well, but not do so in such a way that's like, well, you know, we like their opinion because they're attractive or whatever, you know. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the fact that there's a lot of development happens. Why would we, at its core, why would we disinclude 50% or 52%, I guess, technically, of the population? That makes no sense. How we move forward with that is my, but that's my thinking about it, I guess.
That goes into community as well, because when I started as a CTP, it was all male. You know, Perrine and Laura were the only females, and they weren't the CTP, right? And the year that I became, the year I became a CTP is when they brought in the first female. So it was like, you know, big push. You know, there were a couple people that were like, well, why are they bringing, you know, the female in and everything? I'm like, you guys are so backwards.
Yeah. It's those things again where you don't want the play just because they are, you know, checking a box or whatever. That makes me sick. That kind of just negates their reason for being.
Perception is a lot of times when a program, it could be anything, right? Race, sex, you know, whatever. You know, every time it starts to open up and they say, okay, we're going to make a concentrated effort to do that, the first thought of a male, and in particular, I'll say a white male, is that, oh, they're not necessarily qualified, but they check the box, and so they're bringing them in.
Yeah, that's troublesome. And
it is.
I am in one way glad that, you know, technology is a field where we can see more equality, but it always shocks me to have like, the token female is, as she says here, is like, you know, what, it doesn't make any sense. This is like, it doesn't even fit with the way we supposedly are. So, but at the same time, we as, you know, especially as white males, for crying out loud, we need to get better about encouraging participation and things like that. And so
I think we need to get better at two things. I think you're right on that. The other thing is also we need to be more forceful, or not, maybe be more willing to step up and shut somebody up that is making inappropriate remarks.
Yeah, too many people are politically correct in that area. I mean, I understand being PC, especially when we're consultants, right? So we have to be PC around customers and things like that. That's just the way the world works, right? Unless you're so in with a customer that, you know, you're just treated like another employee. But otherwise, you know, this is one area I don't think you have to be PC. It's just it's not.
I've told that story before, but I've definitely, you know, put my job on the line as far as that goes to shut somebody with a big mouth up. It's like, you know, it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
And you know, if you say something about her bad again, we're all leaving. It's just the way this is, that sort of thing. But that's just me getting probably a little over responsive about things like that. But at the same time, I just have a zero tolerance policy for anything like that. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, male, female, you know, different race. It doesn't matter. It's just like, it's so outside of what is real as far as people's skill sets and what getting the work done. It's like, why are you wasting my time with your prejudices and stupidity? You know, this is just nothing more than just setting us all back. It's just stupid.
It is. And I mean, we can expand this conversation into everything, right? Because that's the
Right.
way the world is. Everything that's going on in the world, you know, everything that's happening in different cities and all that other kind of stuff. But we're talking about just tech, right?
Yeah.
Just being in technology field,
Yep.
being in the technology profession. And it's almost like you got to start somewhere, because it just, you know, hopefully it'll branch out and it'll go into other areas. But I see it too much in tech, and that bothers me. And you know, I was just like, I've had enough of this. I'm not gonna. I really don't want to work with people who give me that impression, who say things to me that I don't think are fair.
Yep.
And I understand their company drives it, but I've actually turned down work. I turned down work for someone in Florida because I was like, I just don't agree with what you're doing here.
Yep.
I don't want to work for your company. And that's, you know, so.
Yep. And I'll say too that from my perspective, I mean, again, I had to be shown this getting into the consulting world, but it was the very first thing I did as, you know, some of the independent consulting work that I did actually on behalf of Citrix.
Mhm.
But the guy I was working at, it's not fair to say names or anything like that,
Yeah.
but you know, he happened to be black and was positively brilliant and really, you know, showed me more about getting my stuff together and organized and having my thoughts and how to just have kind of that collaborative
Yeah.
effort that's gone into everything I've done since.
Knowledge knows no color.
No,
There's
exactly.
knowledge knows no color, knows no sexual preference, and knows
Yeah.
nothing.
So when I think about it, it's like, well, okay, what if no one had encouraged him to just, you know, move forward? Or what if somebody had like decided that he wasn't appropriate for that role and somebody else was, or whatever, just because of the name on the application, or, you know, whatever that looks like, you know, that's just what I think is like, I would have been cheated at that point. That's, you know,
Agree.
it's
Well,
not something that's not always said, but I think needs to be said. It's like, you've got to play things forward. You can't just think about in the moment. You got to say, okay, what does this world look like in 10 years if we have people that we're keeping, you know, under our thumb? What does it look like? What did we not have access to? You know, that's kind of the way I think about it anyways. It's like, we've got to have all these contributions from all people. Otherwise we're all just kind of stuck.
Yeah, I want to go live in someplace like New Zealand where they don't have any of those problems. You know, or
you know, Hobbit problem running around.
Yeah, they got I
It's
know.
kind of interesting.
Those little garden gnomes, you know. I mean, yeah.
So Lady Lake just brought this up. I wish we could have interviews like the voice of the Masked Singer. I'd never even thought about that. Like
get a voice changer and
yeah,
you can do a podcast or something. Yeah. But you got to guess who it is.
Yeah.
And Jarian saying, like you, Mike, I turned down a job several years ago because of the landscape of the company and how they bragged about positions for certain people.
Yeah.
And yeah,
you don't see that so much in larger corporations. I mean, the global ones, because they all have their diversity and inclusion task force and D&I BPs now and things like that. But you see it a lot more in smaller companies. I mean, yeah.
I'd say you see it. Well, you know, then there's Google, right? Because
Yeah,
whatever the story is at Google, I don't know. But obviously there's a lot coming out from there that may or may not be true. But, you know, a lot of times it's also the older companies, you know, the ones that have been around for ever. And, you know, it's that entrenched culture.
Yeah.
You know, the boys club and all that stuff. And yeah, you know, it's one of those. I mean, I just want to be completely honest here is, you know, we can all be idiots, right? I mean,
I am.
Yeah, I am all the time. So, I mean, it's just, that's my normal life.
That's my wife. I mean, all the time.
Exactly. But I mean, you know, when we talk about, you know, racism, sexism, all this stuff,
yeah,
it is my belief that we are all racist. I mean, we all have something there. It's the ability to overcome that those notions or whatever that defines us.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you talked about the professional setting. I mean, I would never, I mean, I will err on the side of caution to make, to try to make sure I don't say something inappropriate. It's just, if you're unsure, either keep your mouth shut or make it very neutral, whatever. But I will admit, I'm also a male and I can be stupid.
Yeah.
As a male only can.
I'll back that up because I was just in a position where a couple of years ago where I made the comment to someone. I said, I said good morning to someone, and I said good morning sunshine. And it turns out that using that is called a label. And using labels like that is something that you cannot do. But I had no idea. I thought it was harmless. I thought it was like, good morning, sunshine, everything, everything is bright and cheery. But I got accused of using a label on someone. Yeah. So it's really, to me, it's really, really hard. I was in a room where I was in a meeting once where someone got up and addressed the room and said, all right, guys, this is how it works. At that point, there were 2 females in the room. They got up and left. And the reason is because he addressed everyone as guys. So, I need to learn from that. And like you saying, idiots, yeah. I'm an idiot when it comes to that sometimes. And I don't mean to be, I really don't. But it's just something that you have to
balancing act here
figure out.
Yeah. It's really tough too. It's like there's that hypersensitivity that we have to deal with, but also like trying to keep things light,
right.
Sort of thing. I've struggled with the same thing. I will continue to do so because it's not my programming to think in terms of me saying something that I'm wanting to exclude someone. That's not the way I do that, but this whole, like Jarian says here, try to stay away from addressing people with pronouns if I don't know them. But you don't know anymore. And it is better on the side of caution. And I'll say just from the outset too, that addressing people privately is something and publicly is different too. And it's just, it's just a difficult thing to navigate. But I do kind of feel sad that it gets to that point where this becomes a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, we get away from just treating people as people, and we're so hyper concerned that we don't know what to say anymore. That does concern me a great deal.
And there is a pendulum. If you
mm-hmm.
watch, if you look back over the 10, 15, 20 years, that PC pendulum
mm-hmm.
swings back and forth. Because, there are times where I remember going, I don't want to say anything to anyone. I don't care if they're male, female, whatever, because I'm literally afraid that someone's going to take offense at, and then now you've got the other way, which is, I believe we are right now, where you just forget the filter in your head, just say whatever you want now. And we need to find the medium. We need to stop the pendulum and just get it there.
Yeah.
Just kind of, but because it's bad when it's too correct.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bad when there's no filter or whatever, when you can just do and say whatever you want,
but
like
we've said from like the beginning of this program that, we want to be people in IT.
Yes.
And we put the people first. That's kind of that. If you have that mindset and way of treating people, in the end, I think that comes through.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people outside of the technology space that will just say things like, hey guys, or whatever, and a lot of women that I know that will address everyone in the room as guys. You're never going to get away from the people that are, overly sensitive about things.
Yeah.
But it's kind of those things where it's like, there comes a point where I know I can't help them. It's just the way it's going to be that way.
Yeah. And that happened. And just to clarify, that happened when the whole Me Too movement was really, taking fire. And
I got my own story about that.
Everybody was hypersensitive about everything at that point.
Yeah. I mean, my fault was when I was at Unidesk, I was working with a customer, and it was a couple of women I was helping get Unidesk set up and everything, and got on the line, and I had talked to them many times before. For whatever reason, my mind glitched, and idiot me says, "Hey girls," and I caught it right away, and I just started apologizing like no tomorrow. I mean, I thought, oh God, I'm gonna get this is it, I'm done, but they took it, well, because but it's just one of those things, sometimes your mind just slips, and I wasn't trying to be offensive. It just, like the hey, it's just like, hey guys, I mean, a lot of times we still call women girls, for whatever reason. I think that's, maybe it's me. I don't know. Hey guys and gals, we call guys, but we call women gals, which is really girls in the end. I mean, it's, so actually, I'm going to shut up now because I'm probably putting my foot right in my mouth.
I don't know how we got on this topic. No, I'm kidding. I brought it all on with my women in technology mentoring. I know that, but I've actually gotten to the point, Jeff, where I will, when I do a presentation in front of a group of people, whether it's a user group or even online, I will address everyone as people. I will say, welcome people to the event. I've gotten to the point where I train myself to do that now. I try not to get into that niche anymore, because now everybody's got behind their name the his, her, or his, him, her, hers, all that kind of stuff. And I get that. And I understand the reasoning behind that.
Hey, everybody.
Be like the Simpsons character.
I have to be drunk to do it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I tend to.
It is Barney.
I tend to open up videos with, hey, everybody, or whatever, But I think,
can we just do, when anyone comes in a room, we just yell Norm and
Norm,
just call it a day.
maybe. But I think you bring up an interesting point that I think people in technology need to hear. And that is that it does take practice.
It does.
And not to get discouraged. It is something where you have to work at it and let yourself.
And mistakes are going to happen. I mean, it's just, we're human, right? I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. We're all human. We all make mistakes. It's, again, it all comes down, like we talked about, I think there's the, do you know the person? Was it, were they,
was it
slip
malicious?
of the tongue or whatever, and I think there's part of it, if you don't know the person, I think there are people on every side of the equation that need to be a little less sensitive with a slip up. If it's a consistent thing, that's very different. But we can't be jumping to conclusions. Office Space reference. We can't be because somebody said this once, or that they are a bad person or stuff like that. I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess. And this is the reason it's a mess, because even trying to have a there's like, it's everything's shifting, and it's always shifting, and we're humans. I mean, that's the bottom line.
I'm just glad to be able to share knowledge. I mean, if I say something wrong when I do it, I'm trying to do good. I'm trying to share. And I'm trying to learn at the same time. So,
on Twitch, Lady on the Lake says, how you respond to your mistakes are important. Also, giving people an opportunity to learn, giving grace is equally important. That's very true. Most people are receptive to feedback than not on both sides.
Great comment.
Yeah, good stuff.
I feel like DJ, you could spend like a couple of podcasts just on this topic.
Oh, we could.
I think it would be easy. I mean, really, we've all seen stories. We've all lived stories. Yeah. I mean, it's such a big problem. And I know, especially in the US, we try to sweep problems under the rug more often than not. And I don't know who said it there in the comments, but a lot of times people do get sick of these conversations. Yeah. And until the problem is fixed, we're going to keep having these conversations because just ignoring it does not make it go away.
Right. So the two themes here are the kind of the cordoning it off and just like making it not okay, but also giving some grace and saying, hey, look, that wasn't appropriate. Not like you messed up, you're out.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's more of just making it so that they understand, because that really is at its core. Again, I'm thinking of names and I really wish I wasn't, but there's some people that have been in and out of our spaces that if they can't be themselves like they picture themselves, then they will lash out and reject and that sort of thing. Yeah. And it is a shame to see that, because I really want them to still contribute. I just want them to understand why we're saying these things, why it's important to accept people of, there's been other issues too, that, things get misunderstood. There's been conferences and things like that have been, things that happen with a few drinks and whatever, that some things completely misunderstood and things like that. But it's
just add alcohol.
And there's no such thing as perfect people. Like, Jeff, you were saying earlier that, we're still, we're going to screw up.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. But at the same time, if we can start understanding the why behind it, that's really the key here, is like understand why we want to be in control of our voices. I think professionally that helps anyway. That's something that I talk a little bit about, is that being in control of your not only your speech, but how you present yourself, how you carry yourself, ultimately only benefits you as a professional.
Right.
It's not just the, like checking the box or whatever. If you are properly inclusive with your life, then that shows in your work, and that actually leads you towards better opportunities. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my perspective.
Yeah, I think and I think a lot of people do confuse the personal with the professional, and I just got to be myself. And it's like, none of us can truly ever be ourselves in a public setting, right? Yeah. I mean, it's we all have to make concessions about what we say, what we do, just because that's the right thing to do when you're in front of people, or, whatever the case may be. And especially in a professional setting, you need to act appropriately.
I do know some people that just, to that point, are like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Because, they are as nice as can be when you're working with them on a one-on-one basis or in a group on a project. And I'm still keeping within the technology frame here, working with people. And then after that, you go out and you say, hey, let's go have a few beers or something. Let's go, grab something to eat. And it's like a 180 degree. I actually had a Citrix that I got, a Citrix employee, a consultant who was working for PSC at the time. And it was night and day. Literally, once that person shut off the work, it was like a whole different person emerged.
Yeah. Yep.
And I've got to say that there's been certain things about getting into like independent consultants, things like that I wasn't prepared for with some of the teams that I worked with, and some of these things that just were not okay with me. Like, hey, let's go to the strip club or whatever, and I'm like, you guys go right ahead.
I'll catch up.
You didn't bring that up. What made you bring that up?
And to be honest, there's just certain things like that. It was just like, well, no, that's not. No,
DJ, I told you not to tell anyone. I told you what happens there stays there. We don't talk about that.
It's funny.
It's everywhere. That's the thing.
Really add an expense policy, right? Just treat the money as your own. And then one day we suddenly had an expense policy because a certain salesman took a bunch of guys to a strip club, and suddenly now we're locked down on, it was like, who's the, I mean, I know who the idiot was, but it was like, are you that stupid? This is not the 70s and 80s anymore. This is,
But what I'm getting at here is that there's certain things that are like that if we allow that to be okay, and just, like me when I first started, it's like, well, gosh, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to, I just kind of ducked my way around it. When, all the drug use and all the kind of things that I just navigated around it. I didn't confront it head on. Now I'm confronting it head on because,
well, and there is the young DJ versus wiser DJ. Same with all of us, right? I mean, I think back on things that I did when I was fresh and everything, and it's like, why did I think that was even remotely okay? Things like that. It's God. I think we knew everything when we were 18. Now we know we didn't know anything, and still don't.
I made more mistakes at 38, my friend. Just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Jared said here, it's like, nothing good happens staying out at late, and it doesn't matter the context. He's right. That's something that I had to learn the hard way, especially when I was doing things in sales, and you guys know what I'm talking about. It's like you get this like notion, and hey, you know what? It gets weird out there.
I've stayed out with Jerry and late. Trust me. It's nothing ever good came of it.
No, it's like one of those things where it's just like you wake up the next day, you're like, what just happened?
Well, those Washington football team fans, they're a different breed.
See, somebody's going to watch this recording in like a year and go, who? They have a soccer team? I didn't know they had a soccer team.
No, that would be the football team. So
yeah.
Boom. There we go. My joke of the day.
I think we might have hit a nerve with Jared there.
Oh, come on. I got the Lions. I mean, if there is not a sadder state of affairs than the Lions, I can make fun of Washington.
And I did take the flag down. Go Chiefs! I'm just saying. Anyway, but it's all good. So cool. Well, Mike, let me ask if you have any final thoughts. We're kind of coming up on the. Well, I guess we passed our intended time, so it's all good.
Yeah.
I'll take up your whole entire evening, but yeah, I did kind of passing final thoughts.
If anyone is looking to have opportunities to, share knowledge, if they want to get involved in user groups, they want to get involved in the community, you can hit any of us up, don't be shy about it.
Yeah.
A lot of folks, they just, will say, well, that's just not for me, or I don't know how to do it. I actually spent a couple of months going through training someone how to give presentations, because they were like, didn't want to get up in front of people and things like that. I mean, if you have anything like that, there are people that want to help. There are people that want to do it to help you get through those things and help you become more active in the community and help out. And I would just say that things like this, this webcast right now is something that I feel, especially when we just spent the last 20 minutes or something talking about inequality in technology. This is really, I believe overall, it's very positive. It's something that people have to talk about. These are things that people need to talk about, and we're sharing knowledge. We're sharing stories. That's all knowledge is really stories. It's a
right.
continual story about understanding something and being able to come up with these innovative ideas and brilliant things, and things that people just don't ever think about. So I encourage everyone to do that. That is a huge, huge part of my world. I know that a lot of folks just want you to get down and dirty and be in front of a keyboard and do all that kind of stuff all day, but take some time out and just stop. Like I said this morning on another webinar, I said, stop and breathe and think about something that you really want to be passionate about, you really want to engage with. And if that's being a mentor, if that's speaking, if that's being able to move to the next level from an engineer to an architect or an analyst to an engineer or a help desk, up to you, wherever, reach out, because there's always people that want to help. I thank you, gentlemen, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to send you back to our green room. So have yourself some snacks.
Okay.
While you're in there, some virtual.
Cheer. No beer? There's no beer back there?
There's all the virtual beer you want.
In your fridge. I think that's where we put it.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Mike,
guys.
thanks again for being on with us. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, Jeff.
All right. First off, Jarian, I will take that press conference from our new football coach over the rah-rah junk you always hear every time a new coach is brought in, and especially with the Lions. Yeah, today,
right now.
God, what a great conversation we had today. I mean, it really was. It went in the direction I did not expect.
Yeah.
And I probably made a complete fool of myself. So
Par for the course.
It's what I do best.
We do that.
And I do want to say one thing to kind of follow up with Mike's remarks. Those skills in DJ, you and I have brought this up before. Those skills, presenting, talking, things like that, that doesn't need to be you want to be in the community. Those are skills that are going to get you further in your career than your tech knowledge, because as techies, as a tech, you can learn the new tech. It's the social skills, being able to sit up and present and talk and everything else that is very, very important, and becoming more and more important as IT becomes more generalists, things like that. So, don't be afraid to reach out just to learn for yourself. It doesn't have to be part of the community. I would highly recommend at least once trying, but it doesn't need to be tied to it directly. Yeah. And that's all I have. Lady of the Lake, I'm still waiting on my Excalibur. So I need a tracking number on that. Thank you.
Where's that at?
Good evening, everybody.
Cool. See you soon. Awesome. This is a great show. I love these kind of things. I love these doing it live, pre-recorded, no good. Live stuff way better. So I'm gonna let that one go. But anyway, there are some things coming up here that are we're lining up some additional guests. So I'm really looking forward to it. This is kind of cool because we have people on Periscope and Twitter that's going to go on until I think March. They're still going to have that, and then unfortunately that might be shut down. So if you're on Periscope or on Twitter right now, make sure you follow us on either YouTube, or we're also on Twitch, which is kind of cool. But yeah, always entertaining stuff, and always a pleasure to be with you as always. And pleasure to be with you as well. But I wanted to tell you about a few things going on here. If you want to be informed, sometimes we do live shows that are at different times than normal. So easiest way is to get subscribed to our YouTube channel. Just go to thrive-it.com/subme. That's the best way to get in on our live shows. A lot of you, by the time you're listening to this after the fact, you'll know that we are putting up episodes on a podcast soon. So that'll be there at thriveit.com. But we really appreciate your time. One final thing, did want to let you know that still have that coupon code up for my book, Just Do This. Great way to support what we're doing here, but also to get yourself some IT skills. thrive-it.com/justdothis. Enter coupon code THRIVEcast to get that discount. And so we'll keep that up as long as I am able to, but that's a way to get personalized hardcover from me of that book, you go ahead and just order that and do your part to support what we're doing here. So appreciate your time, appreciate you being with you, appreciate being with you, and we will see you next time on another THRIVEcast. So, and whatever you're doing out there, make sure you do whatever you can to leave it a little better than you found it. All right. See you next week. Thank you for joining us for another edition of THRIVEcast. We truly hope you've enjoyed the experience and have learned a lot from it. Now, what we'd want from you next is to join us at thrive-it.com, where you can get subscribed to our multiple channels, get subscribed to our newsletter, and do more to get yourself to where you want to be in your career and your life in information technology. If there's anything we can do to help you, please give us an email at support@thrive-it.com. We'll see